have geologically surveyed our resources in this country. And again, government should find money, and the money can be found from the gold to ensure that we actually do that. So that when these projects are going, you are very sure that it is bankable, and then you do them very openly. The challenge for all.
It appears
to be able to fight this, are themselves benefiting from this. I would also say to that equivocation that our political parties are funded by this illegal money. It's the reason why it's difficult for us to be able to deal with it. So your question, again, if we're going to be able to stop this, it would require very strategic intentions. And then we need leaders who are thinking beyond their parochial interests and saying that it does not matter, where, any of these small-scale miners belong, whether they are it's difficult for us to be able to deal with it. And we do it so openly that if we're going to, everybody can go online and be able to check who are the owners of this. The community can see what it is, and also that when you go into the community, and then we need leaders who are thinking, but everybody can see their parochial interest being done. And saying that it does not matter, transparency is really going to be important, as we also make sure that the regulations is difficult are also independent of the political. Everybody can then also make sure that we put national interests high above what everybody else also wants to get into their
And I found the document I was looking for. It's reports from Business Financial Times suggesting that Chinese investors have shown interest in acquiring stakes in several major mining operations, including the Achimba. Meanwhile, there has been no official confirmation. The possibility has sparked debate about the future of Ghana's strategic resources. Mining sector analyst. And it says if the Achimba fall under Chinese control, it could mark a turning point in the ownership of Ghana's most valuable mining assets. Godwin, how do you feel about this? Do you know for a fact if these Chinese investors have actually expressed interest in acquiring mine?
Yeah, first of all, the laws allow foreigners to participate in the mining sector. So, if, for instance, I have a mine and I want to bring in
do you know for a fact if these Chinese investors have actually expressed interest in acquiring mine?
Yeah, first of all, the Chinese have expressed interest, right? I don't think it should bring any issue at all because it's already owned by a large scale. For instance, Having is also a foreign entity. So the Chinese presence, when they are doing it formally, when they are investing into operations formally, I don't think there's anything wrong. But once they are mining illegally, first of all, once they are mining, because you have even when you look at most of the quarries in this country now, it's still operated by the Chinese because of access of finance. They have the finance, they own the quarry. Most of the quarries that you see being owned by the Chinese presence now, when they are doing it formally, when they are
I think the question is this not of any consequence to us? Or how is this affecting local economies?
Once you have foreign dominating your mining sector, then the real benefit that they can trust from access. What you get is only your taxes. So we need to look at the policy reforms that we have. What extent are we going to allow foreign domination in our mines? And how are we going to benefit the foreigners are in there? By looking at the whole supply chain, how do we position ourselves as a country? If we don't do that, then at the end of the day, you have the point of all the what you get is only because everything is exported raw. The policy reforms that we have. If you look at the whatever is exported is exported raw. What is the value? And how are we for the country? Is it only the royalties that we take for the taxes? So we need to have a radical approach in looking at it and say, look, if you are mining in this country, then we find your own thing here, maybe exporting percentage we find, and then supply to our local jewelers. Because that's the truth now. The local jewelers, most of them are getting their goods from Dubai. Because most of the miners are not giving the buy their goods from Dubai. It is not good that the standard that is refined so that you'll be able to get the the proper grade that you can form. But if you don't have it, and all your gold is going out, and it's not refined, at the end of the day, what's the value? So we should understand that once we allow foreigners to select over our minds, we will not get it. Like the South African, where you have Joburg, the people in South Africa investing and developing their communities. You have small-scale miners mining and developing the communities that they are in. But if you have a large operations being dominated by foreigners, then at the end of the day, they will take that capital fight, and it's going to need and support Ghanaians. The manifesto should show clearly how they will help the small-scale miners to move from the small medium or large developing. It should be a deliberate government policy. If you are able to do that, then you need a lot of millionaires in the mining space, and you retain the value in your country because they are not going to take the money elsewhere. But if there is no conscious way of developing the small-scale mining sector to grow, then at the end of the day, it will be a joke because everything is in the hands of foreigners. Then at the end of the day, they will use those resources to develop their countries, and we'll go back to deliberate government policies to do what? To ask them for change. A lot of are traveling outside to demonstrate precious or perilous borders just to get you. Why is it so? Because they are putting where their resources are. The resources where they are taking raw and its value is not added. There are no job opportunities. So these young men and women who travel where they have been, their minerals have been search for jobs and that's the dangers that they go through before they get in Europe, where they go and they don't get the job. So we need to look at how they can see our best to be able to retain that and also to let Ghanaians dominate the mining.
Let me throw that to Dr. Mathieu. Doc, so what's your reflection on the consequence, in terms of revenue generation for the country? If this consistent, growing presence of whether Chinese or foreign influence, in terms of revenue generation for the country, if this consistent, growing presence of
new contribution in the mining sector comes from large-scale operations.
Okay.
The small-scale operators contribute less than 2%.
Oh.
And this is the challenge we need to address. We need to flip it over. If government will provide support to small-scale operators, they can expand their activities, generate more revenue, and maybe pay more to the state. And whatever they retain also remain in country. And so in all activities, as I speak now, I'm about to enter a meeting with the law enforcement agency, the regulators here in Wally. We are looking at what reforms are necessary to ensure that Ghanaians are able to produce more gold, sell to regularized or properly licensed buyers, exported through the proper channels, so the state can take its due, and then we generate the needed revenues to finance our national development. So there's a whole revolution that needs to happen in the way we manage the mining sector. We should again on the question of Achin Mine was not owned by Ghanaians. So the state was owned by foreigners. So when we approach the conversation the way you did, then it creates the impression that we are okay with Americans, we are okay with all other foreigners except the Chinese. No, we are not against the Chinese. What we are in support of is for Ghana to be an active participant, an active player. And I see no reason why the Mineral Investment Fund, which was set up to optimize our value in the mining sector, will not consider using the massive resources at its disposal to buy to Achin Mine, if not even to buy the entire mine, to buy a stake in it, so that part of the profit to be derived from this mine will be retained within the national economy.
Dr. Ashbe, let me throw a similar question to you. What does the future hold for Ghana's mining sector if the current not specifically Chinese, but foreigners, the dominance they have continues?
I think, well, that point has been made. That's how we have the reason, and Gordon makes the reference to Johannesburg, and then so if you compare that to Obuasi, we've been mining gold as long as Obuasi has been mining in Johannesburg. The only reason why Johannesburg is as developed as it is the fact that the monies were raised in Johannesburg to do the mining and retain there and develop there. But we, the 100 years, we got foreigners to come in here. They will give us some patents, but they take the real money out and they also do not add value to it. So I think I see it in some of the manifestos about the fact that, we're going to do some refinery, but it is really going to be, we would need to be very strategic about the fact that we've done this over how many years? How many years have we not been mining gold? Let's show the $1 millionaire, $1 millionaire, $1 billionaire that we've created out of it. We've not been deliberate to do that because we've allowed ourselves to be, to be split. And unfortunately, with this NDC MPP thing, it's even become worse. But the time has come for us, especially the citizens who hold sovereignty, to say that we need, and I like the word revolution, we need a radical change. There has to be a metanoia, a complete change of heart, of the fact that the way we have done mining all this while should not be the way we ought to go. We now have to move to the point where Ghanaians are at the point of ownership. And when we define Ghanaians, we should define it broadly. Ghanaians home and abroad. Where are the resources that we have? Where are the people who know it? How do we bring them together? And it has to be strategic. And I agree. The MIF, funds, for example, could be brought in. And also for those who own the land, instead of they wanting to now say that I'm giving the land out to get royalty, they should give the land as equity into whatever it is that is going to do. So the value, the future value of whatever it is, the people who own the land should not say they want the money now. They should also put it in as investment. The likes of Gordon and Co. who have demonstrated, and that's the word, demonstrated, and it should be done openly so that we all can see it and say that these people, this is the evidence that they've demonstrated. They are brought together. And then we also can get Ghanaian banks, put Ghanaian banks also together to say, because we want to do something that is deliberately Ghanaian, we're bringing you here to then take it so that when it comes to the interest on the loans that will even be given, it goes back to Ghanaian banks. If it comes into, the owners of the land, when the dividends start coming in, the returns start coming in, they also get it. Ghanaian banks, it comes to who they sell the gold to, banks again, it's deliberately because we want to do something that is deliberately knowledge. We can acquire the resources here to then take it. Ownership, so that when it comes to the interest on the loans that we start producing, it goes back to Ghanaian banks. Who have actually made it, and then sure, the owners of the land, a lot of the resources, dividends start coming in, the returns start coming in, they also get it. Ghanaian banks, everywhere we mine, deliberately poorer, and those who live in knowledge, outside the country, and the people who benefit. Owners start talking about ownership, and the loans that we say the people in the community, how they also benefit, and make sure that we are very deliberate about a lot of the dividends start coming in, the returns start coming in. They mention that, but then we really need to hear everywhere we are able to get Ghanaian to take center stage and dominate. And I like that word, dominate the sector. Everybody go. He talked about the issues around the pipes and all of that. The lithium is all the new minerals are coming as well. The industrial, we need to be deliberate about that.
We are about wrapping up, but let's do a comparative and assess to help our audience, understand what each party is proposing. So, between the establishment of the Gold Board to ensuring that mining operations are regularized and, waging war against the use of cocoa farms for illegal mining, galamsey and reclaimed degraded land, as against adequately resourcing the PNMC, that is according to Baumia, and aggregation and utilization of the remediation funds to implement the land reclamation process, scale up the use of measurement of gold, reducing withholding tax, that mining scale gold export, regularized and specifically waging war and the fight against galamsey and the issues that are coming up in the mining sector. Which of these as against adequate resources at the point of that is even if we have some modification and utilization of the remediation funds to implement the land reclamation process, scale up the Dr. Chigweja, I just heard from you, so Dr. Monsieur, which of these manifestos between the NPP and the NDC is the issues that are coming up and the mining sector.
I think it's important to equip the Minerals Commission to be able to play its regulatory function much better than we have done now. We must have an increased presence, and we need to work on law enforcement. We don't need another nomenclature between the role that the Minerals Commission has in the fight. That said, I am sure the NDC was implying maybe regulating the trade in minerals, because if you look at the functions of the cocoa board, they are actually more like playing a critical role in terms of trade of our cocoa beans. So they will buy from the farmers and then export. The value in that is that we are better able to account for our gold production. As we speak, we don't have a very reliable mechanism for accounting for our gold export. In terms of what we do currently is records from our exports. That is what is recorded at Otuka International Airport as a proxy for estimating gold production in Ghana. That is woefully inadequate. It leads to underestimation because all the gold that crosses the border at Burkina Faso, the border, Cote d'Ivoire and all that are not accounted for in that computation. And so I think the suggestion really is to get somebody, a body that will kind of regulate the trade activities so that we are able to better account for our gold production. But I suppose the PMMC can be supported to play that role, because if you look at it critically, the functions of PMMC is quite similar to that of cocoa board. Because we know recently their functions were changed from actually mediating the trade to now just being a regulator, just providing licenses and also serving as the government affair. If we want a body like the cocoa board, of course, then we need to amend again the PMMC Act of Establishment and add these other additional functions that cocoa board plays in the cocoa sector to the PMMC now just being a regulator, just providing licenses and also
now let me come to Godwin Amah before I circle back to you. Godwin, between the two manifestos and the details of how each council will propose
PMMC Act of Establishment and add these other additional functions that cocoa board plays in the
I think both manifestos there are similarities in their approach, and I think the operationalization strategy will be important to really let us understand how this manifesto is able to get the change that we want in the mining sector. For instance, we are looking at an issue of traceability. Within the next 5 things, look at the operationalization. Every gold that is exported, there should be that sense of traceability. Where is it coming from? Who produces? How is the state of the communities that produce this gold? Where is the money coming from? The change that fund this operation. All these things will be accounted, and then you have assessment done before your gold can be taken as a country. So the issue of traceability from the mine to the market is something that needs to be developed. Where is it coming from? At the end of the day, it will have at place the quantity of gold that is produced in this country, and then who even mine it, and where it and all these things in terms of the market. Secondly, PMMC. If you look at the manifesto of the PMMC president to resource to be at the fund of this mine. I don't think we need that. We already have exporters and then dealers, so they can work together with the PMMC country and then go in and then put in a lot of money to really establish these centers for the PMMC. I don't think it's something that for me or for as a miner and understanding the operations of the agriculture, it will not really work perfectly. It will be let me use the word waste of state resources in terms of funds. So let them collaborate or let them work with a system really established for the data centers for the PMC. I don't think it's something that for me or as a miner already licensed. Not really find the level of support with also needs to be aggregators can part of the problem. Because if we are not able to do that, then give room for some of them to buy and smuggle it out. Reducing the withholding tax, it used to be 3% and now it's reduced already licensed 1.5%, and we're really seeing the rise in the withholding tax due to the reduction and then gold coming from it. But if you want to reduce it to 1%, all of them are talking about reclamation and how we are going to get the money for some of them. If we reduce it to 1%, reducing the withholding tax, and then the 0.5% of exports is kept for reclamation because we did something with the minerals company that's
solutions in there that we need, if you really had to?
You know, we all the two manifestos, as I've said, most of the things are similar.
Yeah, but there are some
most of them are similar in
right
there. And the approach by each political party when they are in government is really, it will really show how. But most of these things are said sometimes, and when they come to implementation, it becomes a very difficult issue. For instance, the issue of cocoa, fighting illegal mining in cocoa farms.
Yeah.
Why have we really investigated why cocoa farmers are selling their farms to illegal operators? What is causing that? Are they getting value for the cocoa that they are producing? Some of them are even cutting their cocoa for other cash crops. So the cocoa board and then the state also need to understand why are they behaving that way and giving their lands to this illegal operation.
Okay.
If you just want to fight without understanding, then at the end of the day, you lose that fight because you don't even understand the drivers, why these people are selling their lands to this illegal operation. Right. Then lastly, beneficial ownership in terms of community mining. I think the community should own this community mining, not individuals. If you have it like the way we have community radios, the same way for community mining, where you have trustees from the community, it shouldn't be the chief that owns it, but trustees from the community, from the youth group, religious group, the palace and all that, they come together to own that concession. And then there will be what we call trustees for this community mining. And then if they want to partner an individual to provide them a service, then they will partner than individuals owning it. Then how do we call it community mining when you have individual owning them? I think that is not what even we proposed initially when it comes to the issue of community mining. So we need to review that one so that the beneficial owners should be the communities themselves then interest. And what is happening now, as we speak, there's so much distraction. You're looking at people mining close to the Accra, Kumasi, border areas and all. The rate at which people are mining because it's election year, we need to do something about it now. We cannot wait till next year and say, when I come to, what are we doing now?
Okay.
Whilst people are mining at the electric pylons, and at the end of the day, these pylons will fall and it will affect industries, everyone. What are we doing now as a country? Is it because it's an election year, we leave people to do what they want? Then, when we get to office, it will take us 1 year again to put ourselves together. Where will we be as a country? The impact of global warming is there. Climate change is also there. So we need to do something now. We shouldn't wait till we are elected into office.
Godunama, thank you. General Secretary for the Association of Small-Scale Miners. That means, Dr. Ashigbe, you have the final word. And I mean, just to write on the point that Godwin was making about both manifestos being the same and the issue about communities rather mining these, owning these concessions, the NPP wants to emphasize community benefits through local content policies and reinvestment of profits in the local infrastructure. The NDC, on the other hand, is advocating for direct financial support to Ghanaian entrepreneurs in the mining sector and a fund specifically for local development. So that is where there are some key differences. But, Doc, you have the final word. Between the two manifestos, which one meets us at the point of our needs?
Again, so I would not depart from what Dr. Mantiao and Gordon had said. It is, they sound similar, a lot of the things, they say it in different ways. And again, another thing we need to do in analyzing the manifestos, we need to read beyond just the places that they have dedicated for the issues of the mining. So, for example, you find out that NDC somewhere talks about Etiwa, that the fact that they're going to stop minings like projects like Itiwa and all of that. So we need to actually look into it. But again, it's going to be, in the eating. The devil is in the detail. And so if we will have to look again at what all of them have done, it will be good to go back and look at what they've done. How much of Ghana's manifestos are converted into policies? How much of those policies are actually converted, go into the budget and are implemented? So we need to really unpack this and understand the bits. But as we've said, there are some elements that are not in it. So if you take the issue of the geological survey, for example, that the NPP talks, that's important to do. If you take the NDC talking about, a mining project like the Etiwa that is actually at the heart of our sustainability that they are going to take, that is good enough. So it will be difficult to really, from the two. All I would say is that there are elements that are absent in both manifestos that are very critical. And one of them is the independence of the regulatory bodies. It has to be so made a focal point that, the local, the regulatory bodies are independent. And I'll just re-echo again what, both of my colleagues have said. The issue about placing Ghanaians at the center of our mining industry. Yes. If it means sacrificing, those of us living today, sacrificing because we have to invest to be able to get this ownership, let's do it. That's really very, it's important that we do that. And again, one of the things I would want to say is that we need to review the Minerals and Mining Act and create a PIAC, like the way we have the PIAC for the oil industry. Because you see, Parliament have shown that they really do not have any oversight over that. So let's make sure that in the mining sector as well, we are able to do that. And the issues about the polluter pay, it's also a very, very important thing that we need. That we also need to ensure that we would put into what it is that we have to do. So I believe that maybe a bit more detail in look at these manifestos and figuring out, but they need to, again, just to end on what Godwin said. Currently, the level of devastation that is taking place between August and December, if we don't stop it immediately, what will happen is that by January, both John Mahama and Baumia will not have any mining sector to apply their manifestos on. So we need to stop the damage that is happening currently. And I will urge the current president and the leadership today to take a cue from what Otumfuo has done, where he sees people who are under his purview, and he distools these people. We should make sure that the laws are biting. The Draw River place that is being under threat currently, let's be seen to be doing something about it. And the Chief Justice, please, Chief Justice, you need to get us translators that will deal with these Chinese that will also have been arrested. And the IGP also needs to deal. A case like Akonta Mining, we've petitioned him. That case is with him. Nothing has been heard of it. We need to deal with it now as we prepare for the tomorrow.
Dr. Kenneth Ashigbe, thank you so much. He's the convener for Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining. We also spoke to Dr. Steve Mantiao, the co-chair for Ghana Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, as well as Godwin Ama, General Secretary, Association of Small-Scale Miners. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for helping us shed lights on the issues as stipulated or proposed in both manifestos in the fight against corruption. Well, this is the end of this Belt of Conversation. There's still more coming your way on the AM show. Don't go away.
Hypertension, which is also known as a high blood pressure, is the pressure with which the heart pumps blood to the rest of the body. When it is above 120/80, we say your blood pressure is elevated and it is very bad. In order to know your blood pressure, go to the nearest hospital, get checked, and then you will be told about it. Increase in age, family history, obesity, cholesterol, smoking, and other bad lifestyle can cause your blood pressures to go up. When you have hypertension, you may not know. That is why it is called the silent killer. But sometimes you may have chest pain, headache, blurred vision, others. It means it has already started causing harm. If it persists, you can have a heart attack, you can have a stroke, and sudden death. Please go to your hospital, get checked, take your medication, improve your lifestyle.
In our climate focus series today, we bring you Vanishing Shores Point 3. The effects of the rising sea level is destroying many coastal communities in Ghana. The small fishing town of Anglo Beach in the western region, once bustling with life, now faces an uncertain future as rising sea levels is claiming homes and schools. This is today's episode of Climate Focus series on Vanishing Shores. Abui Koku Mauto takes us to the Anglo community grappling with the devastating impact of the tidal waves.
52-year-old Kennedy Atipo is an inland fisherman and a community leader in Anglo Beach. Like him, many of the elders in this town have their basic education in the Anglo Beach Methodist Primary School.
We do play volley and football inside here. When it is time of game, the athletics, we do all here.
This school has been raised down by rising sea tides. The over 500 students have been moved into makeshift structures put up by the community members.
This school in which we are now, it is in the middle of the town. There's other houses up front there. Those houses in the sea now. And then from there, you walk through a thick coconut plantation, before you walk on the sandbar and then to the shore.
Like many coastal towns, Anglo Beach, originally known as Simakeji in the western region, suffers from rising sea levels. This town, which used to be a cradle of fishing activities, is now a pale shadow of its former self. The last high tide happened 4 months ago and carried with it many homes and key community structures, including the school, which was built in the 1950s by the community members themselves. Now, the children have to walk between 10 to 20 minutes to the makeshift school, which in itself has a myriad of issues.
They have no cement in the classroom, so if teacher is teaching, when you have closed, we all be dirty.
When I come to school, if I am learning, the JHS people, they are disturbing me, so if the teacher is saying that thing, I can't hear it.
Robert Ansa has been teaching at the school for over 13 years.
When I came here 2010 and I started teaching, the school is in order. Every structure is there. We even have this caging there. So everything was normal. Classroom, we have our teaching and learning materials, everything, we paste. But when we came here, the place is open, uncompleted. Where do you use? It must be classroom printed material or print-rich materials, but you don't have them.
Grace Senanu, a fishmonger, has 2 young boys, both of whom used to attend the Anglo Beach Methodist Primary School. She is thankful that the destruction of the school happened at night, but cannot hide her grief. Christian Havo grew up in Anglo Beach. He attended the Methodist Primary School, and his child is there now. His voice echoes the plea of the entire community.
Completely. For example, Christmas time, they refuse to go. So our sea must be different.
Approximately 25% of Ghana's population lives in coastal areas. Between 2005 and 2017, rising sea levels claimed almost 37% of the nation's land area. The World Bank Group's Country Climate and Development Report for Ghana estimates that at least 1 million more people could fall into poverty due to climate change. Anglo Beach has only one ask: support to complete and refurbish their new school as they wait for the government to build a sea defense wall for them.
Let's broaden the conversation and speak to Albert Derrick Fiatu, who is the executive director for the Center for International Maritime Affairs Ghana, for more on this. Mr. Derrick Fiatu, thank you for joining the conversation. You're on the AM show.
Thank you very much, and good morning to you and our viewers.
Good morning. I was a bit confused when I saw the Anglo community in Western region. I thought they were talking about Volta region, but indeed there's an Anglo community in the Volta region. And I mean, this community is asking for a sea defense to deal with the tidal waves that is destroying their homes. How effective are sea defense structures in mitigating the impacts of rising sea, and are there limitations to their effectiveness?
Thank you very much. Yes, there are limitations to their effectiveness, but I think it's a good call for the people to be asking for the sea defense wall to be erected as a means of protecting them temporarily. We have kept saying that the sea defense wall erection is not a permanent solution to coastal erosion and tidal wave destruction, but a stopgap measure that is adopted across board to be able to contain the situation. And so if the sea defense wall is erected, then we can plan properly and make sure that we put up a proper solution, a more effective and efficient green technology to cater for the situation.
So a sea defense is not, the wall is not a permanent solution to the problem?
No, it's not. It's not a permanent solution. It's only a temporary measure. Last week, we were talking about the Volta region. That is the eastern coast. You know, the country has about 550 meters coastline, which is segregated into 3 geomorphic areas: the western, the central, and the eastern, which is the Volta one we spoke about last week.
Yeah.
And we have seen sea defense walls erected in some of these areas. But the outcome has not been so good. Even though immediately it solves or contains the situation in a bit, permanently it causes a lot of damage to biodiversity and marine environment.
So could there be any unintended consequences in constructing a sea defense wall for that ecosystem? Could it impact any economic activity over there?
Of course, yes. You know, our people are mainly into fishing. And so when the marine environment or coastal biodiversity is destroyed and rocks are placed along the coast to defend the ocean, which doesn't really work, they lose their livelihoods because they are not able to go fishing the way they used to do it. And so the impact on economic activities is grave. And so, of course, we can say that, yes, they should come in with the sea defense wall, but it shouldn't take long for a permanent solution to be looked at to be able to address the situation.
What are these permanent solutions you talk about?
We are talking about some green technologies that has been adopted across the world. When you go to America, for instance, this situation arises, and we are told by the Geological Science Department that about $700 million is spent annually to protect the coast over there. And so it's not a one-time activity. We have to really be deliberate and take the measures that has to be taken to be able to contain the situation. Fortunately for us in Ghana now, we are aware that the West African Coastal Resilience Program is about to take effect. So we can only appeal to government that there shouldn't be any further delay. They should start the project immediately so that what is left of the coast is salvaged, because it's really a very difficult situation. And besides Galamsey, this is one of the critical environmental challenges that we have faced, not just as a country, but as a globe.
So we should be looking at starting this long-term project rather than building a sea defense wall, you say?
I think that is the long-term solution. But in the short term or in the interim, the sea defense walls also come into help. Okay. But when we leave them for long and think that that is the solution, then it ends up creating more problems than solving what we intended it to be.
How long or how temporary is the sea defense wall? How long can it last?
Normally, it shouldn't go beyond 3 years. Once it is erected and the situation is contained, immediately plans have to start so that the green technologies are adopted. And also, we have been calling for natural or nature-based approaches. That is the beach nourishment or revegetation of the coastal areas, especially the planting of mangroves and other vegetation cover that protects the coastline more resiliently than the rock sea protection or the sea defense walls erection.
Albert Derek Fiatu, thank you so much. And he's Executive Director for the Center for International Maritime Affairs. Thank you for shining lights on the sea defense and happenings in the Anglo community in the Western region. Now, this is the end of this belt of conversation, but stay with me because we are going to talk about everything safety in the workplace. We have a rep from the Ghana National Fire Service to help us get into that. We'll be right back.
The time was 9:45 a.m. in Parliament, and the Assurance Committee of the House was getting ready to question Works and Housing Minister Kojo Nkrumah on some assurances he had made on the floor of Parliament. But just when that was about to get underway, officials came in and whisked everyone away because the Job 600 building, which was adjoining the committee room, had caught fire. Staffers and MPs were evacuated, with so many having no idea what exactly was happening. A few minutes later, it was clear that the fire was spreading and fire tenders were deployed from the fire service headquarters to douse the flames.
Around 9:45, we received a distress call, and within less than 5 minutes, our appliance was here. What we are saying now is fire that has affected one of the rooms. It is like a storeroom because we have some storage items there. So our aim now is to get the fire confined.
Parliament has now been without a fire tender for some time. The Chief Fire Officer has been providing an update on that.
This has begun and will come out with the cause of the fire, in due course.
This is not the first time we are recording a fire incident on the same complex. How concerning is that?
Yes, fire, we can never predict. Anything can happen. So you should not doubt that. That's why you have all kinds of things there. Anything could happen to cause fire.
We are aware that the fire tender station here in Parliament has developed some fault.
Of course.
It's undergoing servicing.
Yeah, exactly.
When is it returning?
Oh, very soon. Within a week, it will return. Fortunately, we have stations around to cover the place. So there's no problem.
The cause of the fire is now unknown, and the Ghana Fire Service is deploying resources to find out exactly what happened and also to ensure this never happens again.
Well, the place might look darker now, but just about an hour and a half ago, this house was up in flames. We're told that a woman left her cylinder unattended to, and it got lit, and the entire place went up in flames.
A woman who just lighted a gas, and then trying to prepare something to eat. Okay. But when that, he left the fire and then the gas, okay, and then left in the room. Okay. So that has to bring that explosion of destruction of destroying, okay, people's rooms and then other. Okay.
The fire service personnel who came on duty tell us that they were on time.
In fact, we had a call 1806 hours. That is 606 hours. Okay, 1806 hours. And we got here 1816 hours. Now, when you get a call, we take 1 minute to dispatch the tender. And the vehicle came from Circle. And around this time, the road is very busy, the traffic. So they got here in less than 6 minutes. So if you say we didn't come here early, well, I beg to differ. And again, who called us? And at what number did he call? These are things that we need to find out. Many times, yes, you did well by attempting to salvage some of the items, but your initial attempt is to call us before you tackle the salvaging aspect.
But the eyewitnesses beg to differ.
I heard they said 6 minutes. Imagine if it was 6 minutes. I don't think this thing will happen. They should be up and doing. When they call them, they should respond to us and come and do. If they think they are lacking one or two things, they should let the government know and he will do it for them.
From Malata in Accra, Kenneth Jesse for Joynews.
2 incidents of fire yesterday. Let's talk about this. How do we keep our workplace safe from fire outbreaks? And really, what went wrong at that 12th floor Job 600 building that serves as the offices of members of parliament and parliamentary service staff? What are the lessons for us as public and corporate entities? And how do we really, what do you know about keeping safe? Let's get to know all the facts about this. In the studio with me this morning is DS Afo, and he's the lead investigation at the Ghana National Fire Service. DS Afo, thank you so much for joining us on the AM show.
Thank you.
I want to start from Parliament, that fire outbreak that we saw over there. Really, what's the assessment of the situation as we speak now?
Okay, thank you, and then good morning to your viewers. Before I address that issue, I wish to comment about safety in buildings first.
Okay.
When we say safety in buildings, what are we talking about? We are talking about measures, regulations, and other practices that we put in place to ensure that human beings in buildings are safe.
Yes.
So in terms of this, what are the safety measures that you're looking at?
Okay, but we do want to get into...
Yes, I want to address that. We need to understand what safety means in a building. Mm-hmm. Then we delve into what happened.
Okay.
So what it means is that once you have the building in place, there are certain things that one needs to put in place. Mm-hmm. You look at the structure, look at the fire protection measures, and then you look at the day-to-day activities of the occupants. That is what one needs to know so that you can prevent these fires.
Okay.
Now let's get back to the question of what happens.
Yeah.
Like we all saw in the video. When the incident happened, we were called to duty. We went there. We were able to manage the situation. Apparently, what happened was the thing happening between the first, it's not the top floor. It happened in between the first and the second floor. There's a mezzanine floor. That is where the thing happened. And it was confined to only one room.
Just one room?
One room.
Which means that's where it started?
Yes.
Something went wrong there. What went wrong?
Oh, basically, if you take the principles of fire or the theory of fire, there are 3 things that comes to bear. You look at the combustible material, the heat, and the fuel. Oxygen, and then... Right. So what it means is that whenever this thing comes to place in an appropriate proportion, then fire will start. As we sit here, we have fuel in place, we have oxygen, we have heat. But because they are not in their rightful proportion, fire will not start. So unfortunately for them, the proportion were able to meet, and then they met the requirement, and the fire started.
So it was not, as a result of negligence on someone's part. It's just the right proportion of all these elements coming.
Yes, currently the thing is an investigation, so I cannot comment on it. But for fires to start, you need the fuel, you need the heat, and oxygen for fire to start. What it means is that within our environment, we have what we call hazards. It is the hazard that causes fire. Okay. If you don't manage the hazard well, then fire will start.
Okay. So I understand that you say it's an active investigation and you can't comment. But as we speak now, what is the status? Calm has been restored?
Yes, please.
No casualties recorded?
No, please.
Everything is
normal.
And then there was that other incident at Malata.
Yes.
What happened there too? From the report, they said someone left a gas, and then the issues raised about your response time. The official there said they got to the ground in about 6 minutes, but eyewitnesses are saying that if it was 6 minutes, really, the damage that we saw would be minimal than what we saw.
Yes, you see, I disagree with the witness. We went there. When you call, the call goes to our central point of communication. Yeah. That is FMC, Fire Master Control. They keep records as and when we receive distress calls. Then the appliance is dispatched. We keep record of that. When you go to the scene, we keep record of that. Then we look at the time that the fire will be extinguished. We have what we call under control. Under control means the men on the ground are in charge, and therefore there's no cause for alarm. So when the fire is extinguished, we report back to the Fire Master Control. All this information or data are there.
Do you have enough tenders at vantage points, especially here in Accra, to allow for quick response in an incident of fire?
I will not say enough. We have tenders in place. As and when emergency occur, we attend.
Okay. So it was 6 minutes?
Yes.
Or more than 6 minutes?
No, less.
Less than 6 minutes. Or
6 minutes. My colleague just said.
Okay. All right. And Parliament too. I saw the woman say it was 5 minutes.
No.
The fire officer was saying that we got here in about 5 minutes. So it was 5 minutes exactly.
We are yet to
we are yet to establish.
Yeah, because we need to get to the control room and get the facts right. Okay. I don't want to speculate the time.
No problem.
Yes.
So let's get into understanding workplace safety regulation. So, what are the key fire safety regulations that Ghanaian workplaces are required to follow?
Thank you. For us to talk about this, we need to understand the legal framework that we used, or practitioners need to know. One, we have the LI 1724. That mandates Ghana National Fire to ensure that every public premises is safe for use. Then we have the building code, GS 1206 2018. And then we have the building regulation, LI 2465. These are the documents that helps practitioners and regulators to ensure that public premises are safe for use.
Okay. And now all buildings are not the same. So
yes.
Are there different approaches to high-rise buildings and all that? What are the differences and the differences in the approach?
You see, when it comes to safety, we start safety planning from the drawing board. Because before you put up the building, you engage an architect to do that for you, or a professional to do it for you. So the professional need to know your requirements. Based on that, the design is put in place. And then these drawings are sent to, or are supposed to be sent to, Ghana National Fire Service for our input. So we'll do that, and when we're okay with your safety protocols as proposed in the reports and on the drawings, then we'll give you the nod for it. So it is based on the use. The safety measures in offices will be different from a safety measure in factories. The safety measures at home will be different from that of offices. So basically, but there are fundamental requirements. You may need detection system, that's the smoke detectors, call point and sounders. You may need firefighting equipment. You may need other safety measures in terms of means of escape, protocols that you need to put in place. In some situations, you'll be required to provide what we call fire retardant paints on the wall, so that in a fire situation, these paint will pop up to serve as a shield. Yes, to prevent the fire from spreading to other areas.
And how frequently are these regulations updated to keep up the pace with new safety challenges? How frequently do you update these?
These are laws. I think laws are made to run for a long time. But for us, we look at the safety protocols in terms of renewal of your fire certificates. So yearly, one needs to go to Ghana National Fire Service to renew the fire certificate. Once it is renewed,
to renew what?
Renew the fire certificates. We issue fire certificates to premises, especially public premises. And what it means is that a fire officer is supposed to come to your end and then check your safety protocols if they are okay. Check your lighting system in terms of electricals and all those things, if they are in a rightful position, and therefore recommend your facility or your premises to the chief officer to issue a new fire certificate to that facility.
And this is the responsibility of employees or business owners to
the occupier, let me put it this way, the occupier and then the owner of the building.
Right.
So once you occupy, it is your responsibility. It could also be the owner of the building.
And how does Ghana National Fire Service check to ensure that these owners and occupants of businesses and buildings are complying with this yearly renewal of fire certificates?
Yes, I hope you are talking about enforcement.
Yes, enforcement.
Yes, enforcement.
How are you ensuring that?
We look at education, one is another form of enforcement. We look at the engineering component and then education. So for us as a Ghana National Fire, we have officers or men that goes around to ensure that, especially public premises, they have the safety protocol in place and these protocols are functioning. And then report back to the authorities. And to confirm that, what it means is that the premises have to renew the fire certificate if they have it. If they don't have it, then the officer will ensure that that premises acquire a fire certificate to ensure.
Are there any punitive measures taken against those who deliberately do not renew their...
Yes, there are punitive measures.
Like what?
One is a fine. Okay. Two is imprisonment.
Imprisonment?
And then both.
Up to how many years? Let's say if your certificate overlaps for 2 years without renewal, what's the worst that could happen to you in terms of punishment?
Punishment, but I cannot give you specific now. But I know the law make provision for that. That one needs to be fined. You pay in the penalty units. One is 250. We have 100, 250.
Right.
And then the years that you need to serve in prison. And I quite remember you are asking me if we've done that. I quite remember when I was in Ashanti region as a regional safety officer, I was able to take about 103 institutions to court, and they were fined. Not that we are not, we are doing it.
You're doing it.
Then when it comes to education and other things, when I was in Tema, we do house-to-house safety checks, risk assessment at home. Well, we come to you, ask you if your gas cylinder is on, if it's not in use, make sure you put it off. If electrical appliances are not in use, you put them all those off and then remove them from the circuit. So we are doing it. And yearly, we have a period within the year that will declare it as a safety week, which means I will go to communities, we go to market to educate people about what you need to do to prevent these fires from occurring.
Okay. At some point, we would open the phone lines and our audience gets to interact with us as well. But based on your experience, what are the most common fire hazards in the Ghanaian workplaces, and how can they be effectively mitigated?
Most common fires in Ghanaian workplaces or in Ghana?
Fire hazards, yeah.
If you talk about hazards, there are a lot. As we see, there are hazards around us.
What are the common ones that you see or encounter in your daily, in the discharge of your duty as a fireman?
As a fireman. Yeah. Most often is negligence of handling of electrical appliances. It is not the ECG that causes it. It is the way we handle the appliances that causes the fire. And then sometimes also you notice that ignorance also is another component of it that causes these fires. So these are the generic ones. But if you want to talk about nature, then we have the domestic, we have the commercial, and we have industrial.
You said ignorance. It means that not as many people understand the safety protocols and measures to keep safe, especially at the workplace. Is that a detriment, or is that a negative in the discharge of your duties to educate the public and ensure that?
Let me explain the negligence. You see, negligence is where you are aware, but you refuse to do the right thing. You've been educated. You refuse to do it. You've been told not to plug electrical appliances more than 2 in a socket, and you do that. It's negligence.
Yeah. No, but ignorant. Okay.
And then Then ignorance is a situation where you don't know. Here we are referring to children. Sometimes children can also set fire.
Right.
They will plug in because mom and dad, they saw mom and dad ironing from a point. Mom and dad are not around. Mom and dad are not around. And then maybe they want to wear a t-shirt, they'll pick the iron it, and then drop it, leave the iron on, and this starts on. So on the part of the child, it is ignorance.
Okay.
So these are the differences.
Okay. Let's talk about, the importance of employee training. And I was telling you before we came on air that we used to see firemen go around to offices and homes to show you how to, or demonstrate how to use the fire extinguisher and all that. And I mean, there's a fire TV station now, so most of those is happening on the TV stations. But I do not see as much as the in-person demonstrations and training these days as we used to do. And how important is employee training in maintaining workplace safety, would you say?
It is very important. When it comes to safety, we have what we call a shared responsibility. It is the employee and the employer who have to come together and ensure that the place is safe too. And therefore, fire service, we ensure that we provide training, adequate training. We have other institutions, service providers, who also provide. They liaise with Ghana National Fire Service, and they will provide these services.
So you're doing enough?
We are doing it.
I haven't had any training.
Then you have to invite us to.
Any of the places I've worked, I've never had personnel from Ghana National Fire Service come to train. I'm saying it truthfully. I've never had
As far as I know,
And I'm just one person.
One person. Okay. I know we've provided. I know a colleague some years back was providing services to you through a service provider. He helped you to acquire the fire certificate. And without training, we will not also issue the fire certificate. So training is one of the requirements. And it is in the LI 1724. And the law says that Ghana National Fire Service shall ensure adequate training are provided. So once the training is provided, we issue you with the fire certificate.
Where was your latest training session?
In fact, I would say that, the most current one, I will not be able to give you now because these training are done at the district levels. We have number of fire stations, which we call district fire station. And these district fires, they have safety units. They go out to do the daily education. Even now, as I explained, you may have a unit going out there to provide the training. Just that the media does not show much interest when it comes to safety or fire service activity. Our interest is when we have issues that are fire outbreaks, major ones, then they will take the trouble, let's find out what the issues are. But then if we take the interest and we partner Ghana National Fire Service to provide this public education, I think it will help all of us.
What we are doing right now
I agree with you.
It's one of such public education collaboration with you.
Yes.
But you can join the conversation, call us, let us know what issues you have in terms of fire, safety at work and all that. We have the Deputy Director here, lead of investigations, and he'll help us gain some clarity on the matter. So, Director, what are the most effective fire prevention strategies that employers can implement? I know that you must have a fire extinguisher, and then you talked about the certificate.
Yeah.
What else?
Then you need to also ensure that these equipments are functioning. You have a service provider ensuring your things are working effectively. And there's this practice, especially where we have detection system in place. You move into some facilities and then you have covers. The sensor, after the installation, they put what we call cover on it to prevent dust to get into it. And as you go around, you may have, or you see these things around. And I don't want to mention names. Even this morning, I saw one this morning somewhere.
Hey.
Yes.
Okay.
So maybe after this program, maybe you can also go around to check if you have such things around. Then what it means is that you have a problem with your detection systems.
Okay.
Because the sensor will pick the dust or any other thing, and then which is sensitive to the sensor, and then raise an alarm. And because we want to prevent these frequent sounding of the alarm or triggering of the detector, we'll put the cover there to prevent that, which is not the best practice. What it means is that you need to call a provider to come and check your alarms, your panel. But most of we don't do that. We think that, fire, it won't happen. So let's put the cover on it and then we live with it. And it's not a good price. So I would advise that for us to have a effective safety strategy, first you need fire safety management plan. That will spell out our role.
And what does a comprehensive plan look like? A comprehensive fire safety plan. What does it look
You are looking at management responsibility, employee responsibility, and the protocols that have been put in place.
Okay, Director, we have our audience have joined us already. We have Andrew from Akwigwa. Andrew, good morning.
Good morning, madam.
What are your concerns?
Okay, first of all, thank you so much for this education. I'm just here to commend Mr. Alpha for the education you have shared this morning. I'm really enjoying the conversation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Alpha, he said he's enjoying the conversation.
Thank you.
He's learning a lot. Okay, so we were talking about a comprehensive fire prevention or management plan.
Yes.
What does that encapsulate?
So you look at the management responsibility, employee responsibility, the risk assessment, that will tell you your vulnerability level of that organization and the measure that you put in place or you intend to put in place in the near future. So once these documents, it serves as a guide. For instance, let's look at the management responsibility. If you want to maybe service your fire, it has expired, you want to service a fire extinguisher, and management don't have much interest in that, he or she may decide that,
It's nothing, just leave it.
No, let's leave it. It's too expensive. And for your information, fire safety gadgets or accoutrement are very expensive. Very, very expensive. Even if you are putting up a burden, I can say that it takes about 30% of the cost of the burden. I'm not talking about buying just fire extinguishers, but if really you want to put in place, looking at means of escape, considering fire doors, exit directional signs.
Even the alarm is not cheap.
And everything.
The detector, I mean.
The detectors, they are very expensive. And most often, employers want to at least look down upon those things. Oh, we can do without these things because we've lived with it for years and nothing has happened.
Okay. Let's pause here and invite Michael from Kokomimli. Michael, grateful to have you join the conversation. What's on your mind?
Yes, good morning. Good morning to you and your guest. The fire outbreak was very close to me in Kokomimli here. And it looks as if the whole area, there is no education going on. Fire workers don't come around to educate anybody about fire outbreak and what we should do when there is fire. There is even an officer in my area here. I live around Agbami Road. That officer always burns rubbish. You see, boiler that we are supposed to be giving to these boiler people who takes boiler. He is a fire service officer, but he burns boiler to disturb the whole area. You will come out, your room will be smelling of smoke. Sometimes we might even think it's our electrical gadgets that are burning, only to come out and then realize that it is a fire service officer who is burning boiler. We've confronted him, he has refused. I even reported him to the assemblyman of the area, and then he promised to bring EPA people to come and then serve him a letter and warn him. You see, so some of even the officers are not even aware of these fire safety precautions.
Thank you, Michael. And hold and give us the name of this officer so that Director Afo can deal with the person. I mean, we want to name and shame, but let's not do it right here on air. So hold, my producers will take the name of the officer. Thank you for calling. So, Mr. Afo, they're saying that right here in Kokomimli, we are in Kokomimli, they've not seen enough education going on. And I said the same thing to you. What's your response to that?
No, we are still doing public education. And we see we are using the in-person and then in the media. If you go to our media handles, you get other information on public education. Like I mentioned, if I'm permitted, now we have Fire TV, and we do a lot of public education. And there are a series of programs that we run. What to do at the home, at the workplace, and all those things. Even last week, we were talking about fire safety policies. And these things are running. So I think that our advice is that they should also at least tune to Fire TV and then learn a bit from us And when it comes to things to do, the safety measures and protocols that you need to put in place, both at the workplace and at home.